Hello, Earthlings. How are you? Welcome to First Contact Radio. We've made it to the end of the week. Got a bunch of news to give to you today before we go, so let's jump right into it. Starting off with our cosmic weather for today. The first part of that would be our space weather. What's going on up in the solar system around us? We've got our solar wind going at 321.5 kilometers per second. Our planetary K index is low, down at a 1. And our M-class flare possibility forecast is down only to 10%, so that dropped from 20% yesterday. Very, very slim chance we're going to have an X-class flare. And our geomagnetic storm activity is extremely low as well. 10% lower regions, upper latitudes 15%. Just a reminder, we have the lunar eclipse happening tomorrow. Saturday, December 10th. Actually, let me take you over to this story here just so I could show you the information of when it's going to happen, because you're going to probably want to see this. Says, waking up before sunrise can be tough to do, especially on a weekend. On Saturday, the 10th, you might be glad you did. A total eclipse of the moon will be visible in the early morning skies of western Northern America. The action begins at 4:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, when the red shadow of the Earth first falls across the lunar disk. By 6:05 a.m. Pacific Time, the moon will be fully engulfed in red light. This event, the last total lunar eclipse until 2014, is visible from the Pacific side of North America across the entire Pacific Ocean to Asia and Eastern Europe. So that should be quite interesting indeed tomorrow morning. So that's coming up this next morning, 4:45 tomorrow morning. If you're in the West Coast, you might want to get up, go check it out. I think I'm going to set my alarm early and go and see what the moon looks like at that time. Now, the next part of our cosmic weather would be the astrology. We're in Sagittarius. So that goes all the way until the 21st of December. Remember, Sagittarius is the planet Jupiter. It's the planet, when we look up at the moon these days, we've seen the bright light up there. That's Jupiter. Jupiter is the planet of expansion. Therefore, the energies that we're dealing with are energies of expansion, philosophical energies, higher learning, truthfulness, things of this nature. The moon sign, which the moon deals with our subconscious, the moon is in the astrological sign of Gemini. Gemini is the communicator. Gemini is the mind, the intellect, the twins. And Mercury is in retrograde, which means that we kind of step back, think about what it is we're going to say, what we're going to do, just kind of rethink our activities. The word retrograde itself, retro, go back, grade, go back a grade, and with Mercury dealing with the mind, go back a grade in your mind or mind-related issues. And in the area where things are expanded by the energies of Jupiter, it's a very important thing to do, to take time to think about what we're going to say. Just double check our thoughts, make sure what we're saying is right on, and so forth. And as you can see, the moon today is about 99% full. It's going to be that 100% full if you wake up and you check it out this morning. Well, even if you don't wake up, it's still going to be full. Starting at 4:45 a.m., we're going to start to see that lunar eclipse taking place. And last, we have our dream spell for today. And the dream spell is the white crystal dog. Now, there's 4 colors. White is the color of refinement. So today is a day of refining the energy. The crystal tone 12. It's called the crystal tone of cooperation. It's the time that's, since there are 13 tones in the dream spell system, 13 which correlates to 13 moon cycles that happen during a year. When we get to the 12th one, we're almost there. This is the time when it's like the meeting of the Crystal Council. And it's where you take time out to figure out what you're about to do when you jump off tomorrow. So it's a day of kind of figuring things out. The dog, which is the guide for today, it's called the kin, not the guide, the kin for today. And the dog is all about love, loyalty, heart. We think about a dog and how it is, and they're loyal creatures in our life. And the guide for today is the wind. Altogether, the phrase for today is I dedicate in order to love, universalizing loyalty. I seal the process of heart with the crystal tone of cooperation. I am guided by the power of spirit. And of course, on the Gregorian calendar, it is Friday, December 9th, 2011. So there you have it. That's our cosmic weather. I think it's important that you understand what's going on with all of these different energies around us. Again, these energies are not meant to rule over you. You're not meant to do anything other than to look at these energies in the same way that you would look at the weather to see how the energies around us are moving. That's all it is. You don't give your power to it. It doesn't take your power from you. It's none of those things. It's just a weather report of what's going on in the cosmos, and you look at the planets and the stars and the things that affect the energy, and that's it. Now, Dirk Bradshaw's with us today. He has a story about the moon. Let's go over to Dirk, see what he has to say. Dirk, over to you.
Flying high above the planet Earth, this is the Cosmic News with Dirk Bradshaw. I am Dirk Bradshaw. Did you ever wonder why the moon landing stopped and why we have not tried to build a moon base? It does seem like a better and easier idea than floating space stations with no access to raw materials or supplies. Well, according to NASA astronaut Neil Armstrong, the aliens have a base on the moon and told us in no uncertain terms to get off and stay off the moon. Wow, pretty heavy stuff. That's what we have for you, boys and girls. You'll want to stay tuned. You definitely want to know this.
And if you ask our leaders today, this is what they will say. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. I can neither confirm or deny. What's up with their lives?
For all the success and spin put on the Apollo moon missions in the late 1960s, NASA has never fully answered the question, why have they never returned to the moon? Some ex-NASA employees know the answer, and that is that the moon is crawling with aliens. And that NASA astronauts confirmed this in the 1970s, leading many UFO researchers to conclude that NASA had been warned off ever returning to the lunar surface. UFO activity on the moon was nothing new to the ex-Nazis who engineered the Apollo moon missions. For centuries, astronomers all over the world, including Nazi Germany, had been reporting UFOs flying over the lunar surface. The Lunar Anomalies Report was commissioned by NASA in the years preceding the famous Apollo missions in the late 1960s. For more than 3 years, NASA financed several research scientists to collate a catalogue of anomalous lights which had been reported on the lunar surface by leading astronomers and scientists since the Elizabethan era. In 1968, the public version of the NASA research was published under the title Document R277. This public version of NASA's survey of lunar UFOs included nearly 600 strange events which took place between the years 1540 and 1967. This official NASA catalogue of strange lunar UFOs included reports from some of the world's most famous astronomers. For example, NASA included a report from the brilliant French astronomer Gian Cassini, who reported seeing a white cloud hovering over the lunar surface in 1671. Another report suggested that the moon had an atmosphere when two astronomers reported lightning above the lunar surface on May the 18th, 1787. Just 1 month before, in the same year, 1787, the man who discovered Uranus, one of the pioneers of modern astronomy, Sir Frederick William Herschel, claimed to have observed several bright lights traversing across the lunar surface. Small luminous orbs of light, commonly referred to as luminosities, have been reported on more than 200 occasions. In February 1877, a streak of white light was observed for more than 1 hour. On April the 23rd, 1915, a beam of light was seen inside the Clavius crater. One of the UFO hotspots on the lunar surface is the Plato crater, where literally dozens of luminous orbs of light have been reported by astronomers. In addition to luminous UFOs on the lunar surface, NASA recorded the existence of mysterious shadows. In 1882, near the Aristotle area of the lunar surface, several dark shadows were seen. On September the 13th, 1959, astronomers were unable to photograph the Lithro area of the lunar surface due to a large dark mass obscuring the terrain. And on September the 11th, 1967, Canadian astronomers reported a black cloud with violet edges floating across the Sea of Tranquility, the exact area chosen by NASA for the first Apollo moon landing in 1969. Previous to the publication of the anomalous lunar report, in 1965, NASA launched Operation Moonblink, a project involving top observatories all over planet Earth. NASA's goal was to collect data on the large number of luminosities seen flying over the lunar surface. Operation Moonblink also investigated various large structures which had been photographed by unmanned NASA satellites. Some of these structures looked suspiciously artificial. In 1953, the science editor of the New York Herald Tribune had reported seeing a 12-mile-long structure, possibly a bridge, on the edge of the Mare Crisium crater. This structure could have been caused by volcanic activity. British astronomers Dr. H.P. Wilkins and the presenter of the world's longest-running TV series, The Sky at Night, Sir Patrick Moore, both confessed that the so-called bridge in the Mare Crisium crater had just popped up from nowhere. In preparation for the NASA Apollo moon missions, Orbiter 3 was dispatched to take photographs of some of the moon's most interesting structures. In the Eucurt area of the moon, a large vertical structure stands proud of the lunar surface. It has been nicknamed the Shard. Another curious object photographed by Orbiter 3 is the so-called tower, which some astronomers claim is over a mile thick and could be 5 miles high. After looking carefully through hundreds of NASA photos returned to Earth by Orbiter 3 and its predecessor, Orbiter 2, American author George Leonard published a book called Somebody Else is on the Moon. George Leonard presented many photos in his book, some showing very long tracks in the lunar dust. Tracks which he said had been made by aliens.
Oh, man, I can't believe it's over. Where does the time go? Well, I see the fat lady's off the stage. She's looking right at me. It's time for me to go put her to bed. I hate goodbyes. So instead I'm going to say, until we meet again, I'm Dirk Bradshaw for the Cosmic News. Wake up. This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, it's time for the UFO news today, my friends. Before we do, I want to make a comment on this last video that you just saw. Maybe poke a little hole in NASA's story. Now, we all heard the story, the moon landing hoax, that maybe in 1969 they didn't go to the moon. So, let's say for the sake of argument for this story that NASA did go in 1969, as the story says, but they were told not to come back because there was an alien race up there. Now we hear the stories, fast forward to this time, and we hear the stories of alien invasions. Do you think the possibility truly exists that they went to the moon, there were aliens up there, who knew that they were discovered, and yet instead of killing the astronauts that were there to getting rid of their evidence of the ones who could make it up there, they just said, don't come back, and that's it. Don't come back, and then now all these years later there's going to be an alien invasion. Something doesn't quite match up. Usually, think about the movies you've seen on TV. Somebody walks and accidentally goes into the bad guy's lair. Do the bad guys usually say, hey, don't worry about it, get on out of here, kid? No. If they have a plan and they're going to be attacking, they usually start by attacking the person who came into their lair, who came into their territory. That apparently wasn't done because the astronauts did come back and they did say there's someone else up there, they don't want us to come up there. Apparently, they're not the violent creatures that the media would have you believe. But that's just my idea and take on the matter. Think about it. See what you think. Now, our first story comes to us today from the UFO Examiner. This is Roger Marsh. And for those of you in California, like myself, you can take a sigh of relief because California is back as the highest reported state for UFOs. The National UFO Alert Rating System has been updated with California, Florida, Texas, Missouri, Pennsylvania, Arizona, Ohio, and Michigan moving to UFO Alert 3 as the highest reporting states during the month of November 2011, filed with the Mutual UFO Network. California is back on top with 72 reports after being overtaken last month with 75 reports for Missouri. The uptick in Missouri reports continues, but with just 30 reports this month, the state moves into 4th place. Those states in the UFO Alert 4 category with 13 or more reports include New York, Georgia, Illinois, New Jersey, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Virginia, and Washington. All other states move to a UFO Alert 5 category with lower numbers of UFO activity. The watch states with 10 or more are Louisiana, Oregon, Tennessee, and Connecticut. MUFON released November statistics December 1st, where the total number of reported UFO sightings are listed by state. The UFO Examiner uses these statistics to rate states. The entire country was moved back to the lowest alert level, UFO Alert Level 5. Moving right along. From Educating Humanity, we got a bunch of pictures I want to show you here. These are listed as the top 15 most controversial UFO photos. It says these photos are alleged to be real, so hoax pictures will not make the list. First one here, George Sutton posing for a photograph in 32. You see the ship above him. The St. Paris, Ohio gentleman was the victim of an errant UFO ruining his otherwise quietly dignified portrait. Okay, now we go here, and this is from the Mexican military. The screenshot shows several bright UFOs taken from video recorded by a Mexican Air Force crew in March 2004. I'm sure you've seen this one a number of times. Then we have these updated file photos depicting purported UFOs are part of an ever-growing library of visual evidence. A panel of scientists, including Stanford University physicist Peter Sturrock, concluded in June 1998 that it may be valuable to carefully evaluate UFO reports to extract information about usual phenomena currently unknown to science. We go down here. We have the images that were released in 2007 of the various moons of the planet Saturn. And as it points out, some of these do have other type of objects and just shapes than just round, so they could be mistaken. Here we have New Jersey Mystery, 1952, near Pastoria, New Jersey. The saucer-shaped object was photographed by an unknown person. Continuing down here, Polite Alien leaves footprints. John F. Reeves is shown in this March 1965 photo, pointing to the footprints made by the alien he claimed to have met. Unlike the public perception of contactees as wild-eyed lunatics, Reeves was uniformly described as simple and honest man. Here we have the first sensational UFO picture. This was of flying saucers. Photo was taken in Dublin, Ireland in 1950, March of 1950. All right, that's our first grouping of pictures. Our next grouping of pictures, continuing on because there's 15 in total. The eighth picture here is over Coast Guard facility in 1952. 21-year-old guardsman Shel Elpert took this photo from the window of a U.S. Coast Guard laboratory in Salem, Massachusetts on July 16, 1952. The U.S. Air Force's Project Blue Book at first speculated that it probably was nothing more than a street lamp reflections on the window, though many people, including a power company work team and other soldiers who witnessed the four egg-shaped lights, disagreed. Here we have over Zimbabwe, 1953. This was photographed by Barney Wayne in Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. We have multiple witnesses. In November 1957, this unnamed young man was one of several people who witnessed a UFO. His hand-drawn illustration detailing what he encountered is a prime example of the limitations of ufology before the era of digital cameras. And we have in Copenhagen, 1975. It was taken near a meatpacking plant in Copenhagen, Denmark. All right, see the object right there. And here we have New Zealand was inundated by UFO sightings in the late 70s, the most notorious which was the Kaikoura Lights. They were spotted by a crew of Safe Air cargo plane, hundreds of witnesses on the ground, and even a film crew. And glowing spheres, New Zealand resembled tether UFOs. In 1979, near New Zealand's Clarence River, this glowing sphere was tracked by the crew of the passing aircraft. Though many theories have been offered for the object's presence, a meteor, a natural event, or ionosphere, the planet Venus, none has satisfactorily explained the image. And here we have UFO detection or cloud perception. September of 79, a passenger of the Sicilian locomotive photographed this large hovering UFO through the window of the train. Pretty interesting. Look at that. And if you have any controversial photos, you can send them on in over to Educating Humanity, and they will be posting them for you there. Now, this here is an image that was taken. It's pretty interesting. I'll just play this while I am talking. This is an image that was taken of an alleged alien in Mexico. And as we jump ahead, you're going to see the actual object itself, the alien image itself. And the question is this real? Person says that they took this with a camera and through a pair of binoculars, and this is what they saw. This video will be linked up to our page. All you have to do is follow the links from the UFO stories to today. It'll take you to our YouTube page. Be able to check this out, contact the uploader, see what you think, if this is real or not. And our last story for today comes to us from Hulic, HULIQ.com. UFO sightings and body snatcher claims in the wake of Kepler 22b discovery. Ever since NASA found that planet outside our solar system that looks to be just like Earth, we've had a maelstrom of emails asking if extraterrestrials have returned to Earth, explains Cynthia McCready, who runs a website of popular UFO sighting location in Stonefield Beach. What are people to think when NASA tells them about this Kepler 22b that's a lot like Earth, explains Stonefield Beach local Cynthia McCready in a recent Hulic interview. Well, I'm being asked, in the maelstrom of emails we received here at Stonefield, if new UFO sightings have anything to do with this Kepler 22b. One local said people have been acting even stranger, not like themselves. Another said the aliens can't be seen because they have human-like form, but are emotionless. That's not proof because we have a lot of emotionless folks around Oregon these days who are stunned with being out of work and the weak economy. Meanwhile, Stonefield locals are fearing 2 films of the title, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, at the local community gathering this Sunday because, what the heck, it's Lucky 55 with the anniversary of the original invasion back in 56 when I was born. And it goes on to talk about this and people's fears and so on and so forth about the UFO phenomena. Now, last night I saw a special. It was on, and it was a UFO special. It was a what if kind of scenario. What if we were attacked by an alien invasion? What it would be like? And it was hosted by one of the actors from, I think it was Battlefield Earth, which was out or Battlefield LA, which was out not too long ago. And the dramatization they did was kind of a combination of Battlefield LA with Independence Day. It had all of the elements to it. And at the very end they said, even though this was a dramatization, this might not happen, we're just kind of speculating. That kind of speculation is all that the government and people seem to be doing. You don't really see a lot of stuff about the extraterrestrial phenomena from the standpoint that maybe they're here to give us good information. Maybe there's something really positive about this whole experience. But that seems to get glossed over. Why? Because the military wants to create weapons, and by the end of the show you got to see that that's what the military was doing. So they want you to believe that there's harm out there and that they need to build bigger and better weapons so they can stand in defense against those that they believe are going to harm them. And there's no one that's going to be coming to harm them. An invasion would have happened if they were going to take them out on the moon, and if we really did go to moon,
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots, arise! It's time to demand the truth.
All right, and I am back. So next up on stories for today is going to be about our favorite candidate, and the candidate we are hoping over here at First Contact Radio is going to be the next president of the United States. That would be Ron Paul. So this was a clip. It's called Ron Paul, the 45th President of the United States. Listen to this.
Millions of tax dollars are spent on this type of computer surveillance, a disgusting procedure for a professed free society. They're overstepping the bound. Just the other day, they walked into somebody's house. They suspected he was a drug dealer. He was using his automatic selector, and then police marched in, and they said it looked like a gun after they killed the man. In America! Is that what America's all about? I'd say no. We want privacy.
Less government for individual liberty, get the government off our backs, a more sensible foreign policy.
I'm very disappointed that so far in this Congress we have not yet seen any sincere effort to cut any spending. There's something wrong here that could and should be adjusted with decreased spending, not raising taxes, and not further robbing the Social Security Trust Fund.
The more we threaten, the more we intimidate, the more we want to bomb people, the more we're leading into another fiasco like Vietnam. We trade with Vietnam now. That's a much better way than trying to impose our will on Vietnam by going over there and dropping bombs. So I would say that this just points out again that we have a very, very poor foreign policy in the Middle East.
I wish the Congress would address the unconstitutionality of presidents waging war. That, to me, is a lot more serious than Monica Lewinsky, let me tell you.
The corporations are in bed with the government.
Peace and harmony can never be achieved by bombs and intimidation. Mr. Speaker, over the last 3 to 4 years, I've come to the floor on numerous occasions trying to sound a warning about both our foreign policy and our monetary policy. The cause is the Federal Reserve. The cause is the problem is the Federal Reserve has been granted authority that is unconstitutional to go and counterfeit money. And until we recognize that and deal with that, we will continue to have financial problems. I do not see any reason whatsoever to take young men and young women and send them 6,000 miles off to a land to attack a country that has not committed any aggression against this country. War is not popular. People get killed and body bags end up coming back.
I don't want anybody's legs shot off for some reason that is not justified, and it's not a declared war. I think that should be the litmus test of everybody in this country and everybody over on the Hill, too. If this war is worth fighting, are you willing to go and lose your legs, lose your life, or send your kids or send your grandkids?
Will our country become freer, richer, safer, and more peaceful? Or will we continue to suffer from lost civil liberties, a stagnant economy, terrorist threats, and an expanding war in the Middle East and Central Asia? Is it not possible that George Washington's admonition to avoid entangling alliances is sound advice even today? Both candidates supported the war in Iraq and the continuation of it. Both supported the Patriot Act and its controversial attack on personal privacy.
The true patriot will repeal the Patriot Act, is what they will do.
Both candidates supported increased spending in almost all categories. I'm the most conservative member here. I have voted, against more spending and more government than anybody else.
Freedom, prosperity, and peace.
Just come home. We just marched in. We can just come home.
We have allowed our nation to be overtaxed and overregulated and overrun by bureaucrats. The founders would be ashamed of us for what we're putting up with.
A system designed to protect individual liberty will have no punishments for any group and no privileges. Today, I think inner city folks and minorities are punished unfairly in the war on drugs.
It is our job to check up and find what the Federal Reserve has done, audit them, and find out who their buddies are that they're taking care of. It's trillions of dollars we're spending on these wars. President Cole! 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 President Cole!
All right, one thing about Ron Paul: consistency. He's been saying the same message for years. The same message, talking about the Federal Reserve, complaining about what their problems are in the world and how they are affecting things. You know, and then what he says about the Founding Fathers is absolutely right. They would be ashamed of what America is doing with the country that they fought so hard for. What they fought and died and bled for. And it's being just spit upon by the leaders of the country these days. It's shameful. It's truly shameful. And only the American citizens, who outnumber the government and the military by millions, only the American citizens can stand up and make a difference in this. Now, one thing that's very important is the military and all of this. We've talked about what is the military stance going to be, because we've heard now that they are... The NDAA, National Defense Authorization Act, has termed the United States a battleground. We've got all of the Second Amendment that is being attacked and guns being taken away from American citizens. We've got the FEMA camps are now being put into activation. All the things are in place. But what they need is the military. What they need is the military to make all this happen. But here is a good article. It comes to us from oathkeepers.org. Oathkeepers receive tip of National Guard unit stand down refusing to answer questionnaire asking if they would use lethal force against the American people. The below tip was posted on the official Oathkeepers Facebook page by user Pat Lowe. We are in the process of verifying this tip, so it is as of yet unconfirmed, but we wanted you to be aware of it. It certainly would be good news for a change. We will post and send out updates as we confirm and verify. This goes to say, I hope you enjoy the great news as I did when I was told. Paul Lowe. Outstanding. I just left my neighbor's house. Devin is here with National Guard for the area. He just got home from an EDRE, Emergency Deployment Readiness Exercise, at the Armory. He said that during the exercise, 3 companies of infantry were polled by a questionnaire about the drill and its purposes. One of the questions was, will you as a member of the National Guard use lethal force against the American public if ordered to do so? One of the men stepped forward and refused to take the poll and explained that it was a moral judgment on his part and he could not do so. Then he placed his weapon on the ground and fell in behind the formation. Devin said it was like a waterfall. Every member laid their weapon on the deck and fell back in beside the lone specialist. This included all NCOs, staff NCOs, and senior NCOs. The only people left in front was the original formation. Of the original formation was 3 captains, 2 lieutenants, and the BN commander, who was so upset he started having chest pains from yelling and screaming about court-martials and disbandment of the unit into other units. Devin is a master sergeant, and he went with his troops and told them that he could not be any prouder of them. He was floating while he was telling me this. Maybe we have more hope on our side. Maybe we have more than just hope on our side. Semper Fi. My thanks for the honor of being here, Robert. Well, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. We like hearing that. Apparently, though, as we heard, there were 3 captains, 2 lieutenants, and the BN commander who was screaming. They apparently have no issues with wanting to issue force against the American public. So, as good as it sounds that there are those who will stand down, there are those corrupt individuals in the military that have been so far brainwashed that they will turn guns on American citizens. So, unfortunately, there are still those that we're going to have to deal with that don't fully understand what's going on. Apparently, they don't understand their oath. Apparently, they don't understand that this country is founded on the Constitution. They need to be reminded. Hopefully, they will be before things really get bad. Now, also from Oath Keepers, this is another thing. Oath Keepers alert. Federal agents demand customer list from Mormon food storage facility. Oath Keepers has learned that the federal agents recently visited the Latter-day Saints Church food storage cannery in Tennessee, demanding customer lists, wanting to know the identity of Americans who are purchasing food storage from the Mormons. The incident was confirmed in person by Oath Keepers Tennessee Chapter President Rand Cardwell. Here is the Rand's report. A fellow veteran contacted me concerned about the new and disturbing development. He had been utilizing a Mormon cannery near his home to purchase bulk food supplies. The man that manages the facility related to him that federal agents had visited the facility and demanded a list of individuals that had been purchasing bulk food. The manager informed the agents that the facility kept no such records. All transactions were conducted on a cash and carry basis. The agent pressed for any record of personal checks, credit card transactions, etc. But the manager could provide no such record. The agents appeared to become very agitated and after several minutes of questioning, finally left with no information. I contacted the manager and personally confirmed this information. The events point to a new level of federal government encroachment on the basic freedoms of the American people. Likewise, it points to a confused policy within federal agencies. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, in their Are You Ready guide to in-depth citizen preparedness, recommends that citizens store emergency supplies, including bulk food in the event of a natural disaster or man-made event. The new politically correct term applies to terrorist attack. The FEMA guidance is spot on as it allows individuals and families to be self-sufficient during an emergency situation. And here in Tennessee, we have just learned that Nashville Metro Public Health and Tennessee Department of Health are conducting door-to-door assessment of disaster preparedness using a tool designed by the Center for Disease Control and Prevention to go door-to-door and check to see how disaster ready you are. In 30 neighborhoods in Davidson County that have been randomly selected by the target of the door-to-door assessment, I have confirmed that this is a state-run effort. So, you've got government officials who are out there behaving in a way that is somewhat suspicious. Why should they care who's buying bulk food? Why do they need to have a list of that? Again, the government is overreaching their bounds. That is not the government the Founding Fathers set up. I believe that government can be a good thing. I believe that what the Founding Fathers set up was a really good thing, and I don't believe that those in Washington have any sense on how to effectively change or adjust what the Founding Fathers said. Therefore, they should just leave it alone. They apparently don't have the same integrity. Would you say that George Bush has the same integrity as a George Washington, or Obama has the same integrity as a Lincoln or a Thomas Jefferson? Or who would you say in our administration now seems to be like Benjamin Franklin? We don't have men in our administration like that. We don't. We have Ron Paul. Ron Paul is the only one who is standing up speaking about the Constitution. We need more of this. Unfortunately, we don't have it. It's going to come down to the American citizens, and it's going to come down to the military personnel to decide what you're going to do when the time comes, because someone is moving forward to do something. You got to know that. If you don't know that, then you're probably not paying attention. Now, we all hear about the Fast and Furious plot. Confirmed, ATF plotted to use Fast and Furious to demonize the Second Amendment. As we postulated when the scandal broke, the Fast and Furious program that saw the ATF deliver guns into the hands of Mexican drug gangs and admittedly exploited to demonize the Second Amendment and push new gun control regulations. Documents obtained by CBS News show that the Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, discussed using their covert operation Fast and Furious to argue for controversial new rules about gun sales. There you go. So, the Second Amendment says that people have the right to bear arms. Those in power that are trying to affect the American public, they're wanting to take the guns away from you. Don't let them take your guns away. That is your constitutional right to have them. If your guns are taken away from you, that means you are that much easier for them to come in and take over, because they will use their guns. Because the politicians are corrupt. The administrations of this country are corrupt. They're going to use lying, corrupt practices to deceive you. So, Americans, you have to stand up, because one day you're going to have to face these particular issues, and you're going to have to make the decision. Are you going to decide with integrity, or are you going to cave under the pressure, and are you going to go and just follow along with the corrupt ones? That's what they're counting on. That's what they're expecting that you are going to do. But be a stand-up American, will you? Don't cower to their demands. Don't cower to their lies. Stand up and be brave. And in being brave, you'll find out that there's a lot of other brave Americans that will stand alongside you. Now, our next story here, Federal Reserve. We did part 1 the other day. I introduced you to part 1. I'm going to introduce you now to part 2. It's a long article. I'm just going to read the beginning. In 1789, Alexander Hamilton became the first Treasury Secretary of the United States. Hamilton was one of many founding fathers who were Freemasons. He had close relations with the Rothschild family, who owns the Bank of England and leads the European Freemason movement. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, John Jay, Ethan Allen, Samuel J. Adams, Patrick Henry, John Brown, and Roger Sherman were all Masons. Roger Livingston helped Sherman and Franklin write the Declaration of Independence. He gave George Washington his oath of office when he was the Grand Master of the New York Lodge of Freemasons. Washington himself was Grand Master of the Virginia Lodge. Of the general officers in the Revolutionary Army, 33 were Masons. This was highly symbolic, since 33rd degree Masons become illuminated. Populist founding father, led by John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, and Thomas Paine, none of whom were Masons, wanted to completely sever ties with the British Crown, but were overruled by the Masonic faction led by Washington, Hamilton, and the Grand Master of the St. Andrew's Lodge in Boston, General Joseph Warren, who wanted to defy Parliament but remain loyal to the Crown. St. Andrew's Lodge was the hub of the New World Masonry and began issuing Knights Templar degrees in 1769. All U.S. Masonic lodges are to this day warranted by the British Crown, whom they serve as global intelligence and counter-revolutionary subversion network. The most recent initiative is the Masonic Child Identification Program, CHIP. According to Wikipedia, the CHIP program allows parents the opportunity to create a kit of identifying materials for the child free of charge. The kit contains a fingerprint card, a physical description, a video computer disc, a DVD of the child, a dental imprint, and a DNA sample. The First Continental Congress convened in Philadelphia. I'm going to leave this to you because there's a lot here. But this is a continuation of the article the other day. Now, we've all heard about the big debate coming up that Donald Trump, the Donald, has going on. And first we heard that Ron Paul wasn't going to be there, and then we heard that some of the others aren't going to be there. Now we have a couple of other top candidates there. We have Rick Perry. It's not going to be there. As we scroll down to see here, we find that, where is it? Bachmann will not take place. According to this, it says the only ones who are going to be involved with this, let's see here, it's Newt Gingrich and, is this Santorum? It says so far, the former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum and Gingrich are the only candidates who have agreed to attend. Perry now joins former U.S. Governor Huntsman, Texas Representative Ron Paul, and Mitt Romney, as well as Michelle Bachmann. So it's going to be a two-person debate, it looks like, between Rick Santorum and Newt Gingrich. But then, of course, you got the Donald, all the elements for a good reality show. And here our last bit of story, now that we've mentioned Gingrich, is one more item about him. This comes to us from the Intel Hub. Newt Gingrich, Lockheed Martin Manchurian candidate. After agonizing months of Republican bread and circus presidential debates, the Illuminati have spoken. With Occupy chaos engulfing the streets of America, and with the dressed-down Uncle Herman and dressed-up Donald Trump in tow, the banksters have thrown their weight squarely behind Lockheed Martin Manchurian candidate Newt Gingrich. Hat tip to conspiracy researcher Tex Mars, who several months back declared Gingrich the Illuminati candidate. Mars wrote, to prepare Gingrich for his role as Rothschild frontman in 2012, Newt recently converted to Catholicism. In February 2010, some 500 Catholic millionaires, initiates of the Opus Dei affiliate Legatus, met in Dana Point, California to honor Gingrich and former President and Jew Catholic loyalist George W. Bush. Gingrich was lauded by the group for his conversion, and even gave his Christian testimony regarding his leaving the Southern Baptist denomination to become a convert to Holy Mother Church His new wife, at his third, was on hand. But before the lizard Grinch can steal Christmas by resurrecting fear and catharsis as the modus operandi of American politics, he'll have some explaining to do. Never mind the sexual escapades or the Tiffany credit card or the hypocrisy of being in the pay of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Those lightning rods of fact challenged right, whose woes began only after they were partially privatized to become bad loan repositories for the 8 family megabanks. Never mind that the Grinch was forced out of Congress due to ethics violations. What Gingrich needs to explain to the 99% is his cozy relationship with the neocons and with the world's largest defense contractor, Lockheed Martin. As Kurt Nimmo wrote, in no sense of the word is Newt Gingrich a conservative or even a traditional Republican. He was a fellow at the neocon criminal organization of the American Enterprise Institute and the Hoover Institution. So there you go. Newt Gingrich is not a good guy. He's not the right man for the president. He's a man who's falling in line, New World Order agenda, just like all of the others. And they all use religion to get to people. They go and they make a big spectacle that he's going to go and now he's a Catholic. But what does that have to say about the Catholic Church when you got a guy who's already corrupt, and in order to further his corrupt agenda that he is playing a part in, that he's now going to join the Catholic Church? What does that say for the Catholic Church? Doesn't say a lot that they would accept that in if that is part of, if they knew that he's joining just so he can get some kudos from the political arena. It's not right. Politics and religion, they use each other in wrong ways, and things just aren't right. Anyway, that's the stories for today. Let's get on to our meditation. Head on into the weekend. All right, go ahead and close your eyes, my friends. Close your eyes and relax. I want you to imagine that you're walking along a path. Just ahead of you, you see the end of the path. It represents the end of the week. We've almost made it there. And you see there's a table, and you see there's food set on the table, a place to rest and relax. But you're not there yet. You look behind you, and you see the long distance you came since last weekend. And you think about all the things you've done over the last 4 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And you realize how far you've come in such a short period of time. And you turn your attention back forward and you keep walking. 1 foot in front of the other. 1 foot in front of the other. And as you get closer and closer to that end of the path, you feel a sense of accomplishment in you for being strong enough and brave enough to keep walking every day. You understand that by showing up each and every day is the first step in making progress. Because we may not always understand how the plan of the Great Spirit is unfolding, but we keep showing up. And as we keep showing up, we're allowed to see and participate in that unfolding process. Let's imagine all of our chakras are opened and activated, starting with the chakra at the bottom of the spine. The color is red. Raise the energy from the bottom chakra to the chakra above it. Imagine the color orange. From this second chakra, the orange color chakra, raise the energy up to the chakra above it. Just below the rib cage, imagine the color yellow. From the yellow chakra there, raise the energy up higher. To the heart chakra, imagine the color green. From the heart chakra, raise the energy up to the throat, imagine the color blue. And finally, to the top of your head, imagine the color, to the third eye, imagine the color violet. And then to the top of your head, imagine the color indigo. And the light continues on into the cosmos, bright white. You are connected above and below to all of the energy. See all this multicolor energy from all of the chakras flowing through your body, overflowing, forming the line of light all around you. This is your spiritual armor. And let's just imagine love being sent out from our hearts all around the world to all of our friends and to all of our enemies. Love goes around. Let's see love going in, healing the hearts of those who are misguided, strengthening the hearts of those who are weak, and instilling faith in those who are pushing forward. Now let's just wish everybody a good thought all around the planet. And with that, we'll bring our energy and attention back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. And that is it. Prayer, meditation, show for the week over and done. It's been a pleasure as always. Come back next week. We'll have more news and information. Check out this, check out the stories on the right-hand side of the page. UFO news and daily stories. That is all the stories that go back for months, so you can see what we are talking about on the show. Have a great weekend. For Dirk Bradshaw, my name's Josh Poet. We'll be back soon with more news information. Peace. I'm out of here. Have a great weekend. Don't forget about the eclipse, 4:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Peace.